Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, I am here once again doing the post-fight interview with the one and only George Francis. What's up, George?
What's up, Ivan? Thank you for being here, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Another epic night in the books, brother.
So, FightersRep, today is Monday,
Yeah.
3 days after FightersRep 12. What are your overall just thoughts on how the show went? What you're expecting for the next show? Just give me your thoughts.
Overall, it was the most difficult show to put together, obviously because of COVID, all the fights that fell out because of that, but mostly because of the capacity. When we announced the show, it was still, 1,000-person capacity for mega events for the state. And then a few weeks later, it went to, pretty windy around here.
Yeah.
A few weeks later, it went to 500. So, we had to start like eliminating seats, eliminating tickets. And, I wasn't sure what to do, but I just knew that if I wanted to keep it under 500 people. Because I knew if I forced all the fans and all the fighters and everyone like that to show their vaccine status or a negative test, they would have been pretty upset. And, that's why I decided, let me just cut this thing down to 500. Whatever happens, happens. Then in the very last minute, they said, the mandates are lifted or whatever. So, it was just a real headache. We lost a lot of fights. We decided not to replace a lot of them, or couldn't replace a lot of them, but also decided not to replace because we just had to kill the capacity. And then at the very end, when they finally said you could open up again, at weigh-in, we lost 3 fights, as you know. But that being said, even with all that drama and craziness and, thinking about canceling the whole card or postponing it, I said, you know what, all these guys are sticking to it. I'm going to stick to it too, And I think it turned out, Ivan, I don't know what you think. I think it turned out to be one of the best cards we've ever had. Besides the fact that all those fights were good. I really loved all of those fights from start to finish. And we'll get into each fight in detail, but I think the crowd was pretty big, considering we limited capacity. I thought the crowd was big. They were loud. People were going crazy. We had a bunch of people tune in online. And, man, that Pacheco-Perez fight, that Bracken knockout, all in all, I gotta say, it's probably the most entertaining card we've ever had, man. Even though it's just 10 fights, it just felt like the most entertaining card we've ever had. What do you think?
I would have to agree, and like I told you before, I just keep on telling you after we do these post-fight interviews, after each event, I tell you, oh, this has been the best event yet.
Yeah.
But I just feel like each event just keeps getting better, and it tops off the one before. Not to shrug previous events under the rug, but that's just how I feel. Every event just keeps getting better.
Yeah, that was a wild night, man. That was a wild night, and I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank the coaches, the fighters, everybody who stuck to it and did what they were supposed to do. The sponsors, Nueva Real Estate, Citizen Athlete Project, Channel Lumber, Ali Optimal Wellness, Fairtex. Those gloves were freaking sick. I got a lot of compliments on the gloves. Mariscos El Gordo. Thank you to everyone, who came out. Threadbees too. They came out as a sponsor, and I appreciate all of them.
So the main event, we just posted a post on Instagram, stirring the pot, asking people who they thought won the main event, because some people say it was Pacheco, some people say it was Perez. Not asking you who you thought won,
Majority
but just
draw.
What did you think about the fight?
Man, let me tell you, of course I didn't get a chance to score it right while I was watching it. I've watched it a couple times now on the live stream, which you guys can watch by joining the channel. Excuse me, and we'll release it at some point for free, but my mouth was just open the whole time, man. I was just like, is this happening again? Like David Pacheco, is he putting on another fight of the year again? And what a dance partner in Diego Perez. I mean, what an absolute warrior that guy was. And they were both just ridiculous warriors, man. I mean, that was the craziest fight. I thought the last one between Pacheco and Wynn was incredible. I'm having people tell me, Ivan, right now, like people I respect in the fight game tell me that's the best fight they've ever seen, or one of the best fights they've ever seen between Diego Perez and David Pacheco. And my hats go off. My hat goes off to both of them. Salute to both of them. I mean, what an incredible pair of fighters, man. And Diego Pacheco, what a story, man. 4 MMA fights, no striking, decides to step up and take this because him and his team, Chad George, at CMMA, they see something that they feel like they could capitalize on. They said, we'll take that fight when Darren Smith couldn't make it. And, man, it turned into, it's a classic, man. That's a classic fight.
I think just not any fan of combat sports in general would love that fight. Not just striking fans, and even just striking fans in general, whether you just watch boxing, whether you just watch Muay Thai, or whatever the case may be, this kickboxing fight is for everyone.
Classic. I mean, Diego, just touching David the first 2 rounds, very close, but, he's got more volume, David a little bit more power. Then the momentum kind of shifts back towards David in the 3rd round. He drops Diego, and I'm thinking, he drops him heavy. And I'm thinking, man, Diego's, I don't know if he's going to survive past this 3rd round. I was saying to myself, what a great fight. It looks like it's over here in the 3rd round. He goes back to his corner. Chad's in his face. Chad George turns into the motivational maniac. I don't know what he says to Diego Perez, man. Guy comes back from the dead. I thought put on an incredible performance in the 4th and 5th round. They're hurting each other. Pacheco's landing these nasty knees and punches on the inside. But Perez is landing, man, he landed a vicious spinning back fist in the 5th round, I think it was, that had Pacheco stumble into the ropes for the first time and had him retreating when he got off the ropes. And I was just blown away, man. I was just blown away. I mean, again, we've said this before, but how do you top that? How do you top a fight like that, Again, people I really respect told me that was one of the best fights they've ever seen. So I think that, that tells you what you need to know about that fight, man.
Do you think, though, can we expect to see a second fight between them?
I think Pacheco's going to be on the shelf for a while, man. He's had 2 grueling fights like that. I would love to do an immediate rematch, but it's just not realistic with the amount of damage that Pacheco's taken over the past couple fights. I want him to rest. Even if he was available in April, end of April, which is what we're aiming at, I would want him to rest, And luckily, Ed Rivas is a responsible manager and family member for David Pacheco. He says he's not going to be available. And I said, okay, good, because that was a lot, bro. I mean, he put his heart and soul on the line out there. And I have so much respect for David Pacheco and Diego Perez. And, look at the social media, man. They've earned the respect of the community, to the 1000th power, man. I mean, that was crazy, bro.
Now let's get to our co-main event. Which was Conor Bracken versus Ed Hyman.
Yeah, I mean, all of 22 seconds?
22.
Less than 30 seconds. I mean, this was a fight, with a guy in Ed Hyman that, this was, I mean, all the fights that Conor Bracken's had first have been tough. Eddie Jackson, Tyler Smith, both went to decision, and Conor had a win before fighting for us, but that was in Muay Thai. But this was a fight. This was a big step up, I think, because Ed Hyman, is a veteran. Ed Hyman made his glory debut years ago against Conor Bracken's teammate Matthew Baker. They fought to a very close decision, and he's had MMA fights since then, multiple MMA fights since then, and he's just a great fighter, man. And I said to myself, okay, this is where we find out, like, if Bracken is as legit as he looked, because he looked legit as hell, you know? But I said, this is where we find out where Conor Bracken's at. This is the barometer, because Ed Hyman's no joke. And people were hitting me up and telling me, oh, we think Bracken's going to lose this fight. I think Bracken's going to lose this fight. And I told them, listen, this is a great fight. Ed Hyman's obviously a talented guy with a lot of experience, but Bracken's been active. And this is a point I really want to drive home to everybody, especially the fighters. This is Bracken's third fight with us in 6 months, Ivan. Third fight in 6 months. There is no substitution for that kind of activity, in-ring activity, real fight activity. And so that, for me, is what balanced the scale, right? When I made this fight, I said I felt like this was a very close 50-50 fight. And I said, even though Ed Hyman's been at it for a longer time, Conor Bracken's just, like I said, 3 fights in the last 6 months. I mean, he's learning at an accelerated pace. I said, what makes Conor dangerous in this fight is his activity and his improvement. Every fight he's improved. And man, he just, he messes around. He's got the mullet with the blonde streaks in it. He calls himself Kenny Powers. He comes out to, Phil Collins or whatever it is. And, it's metal mullets and mayhem on his shirt. And you think he's messing around. And he goes out there. And if he hits you once, if he hits you once, apparently he has one-hit knockout power as well. We knew he had power, right? Eddie Jackson told me the guy hits hard. Eddie Jackson referred to him as a cement truck with arms and legs on social media. But did I think that he was capable of that? I wasn't ready for that. I knew he was good, but man, Conor Bracken, I want to say like maybe a couple stars were born on Friday. We already knew David Pacheco was a warrior, but Diego Perez and Conor Bracken, man, that right hand, my goodness, Ivan, I don't even know what to say about that. And it didn't even look like he put everything into it, but it definitely was a hard right hand. He's definitely a heavy-handed guy, but it did, it's not like he was winding up. It was just a beautifully placed shot. He was probing with his jab through that right through there, and Bracken's got bricks in his fists, man. And that's what I'm hearing from Eddie Jackson. Immediately afterwards, Eddie Jackson ran to me and said, "You see what I told you? Now you know what I was going through in there with him. Look at my chin. I survived this guy. And I was just like, man, this is wild. This is wild. So, big congrats to Conor Bracken, man. I feel like he's the first pro that we've built on this card. And when I say we've built, it's not like we're purposely putting him in there to win. He's just earned it. He's been in there with tough guys time after time after time, and he continues to improve, and he's building himself. We just happen to be the platform that he fights on, and that was a statement win. And, I'm not going to take anything away from Ed Hyman. He's a beast. He wasn't as active, in the past couple years or so. Maybe he just needs some more activity. He said he wants to come back. I would love to have him back. I got nothing but love for Classic Fight Team. But Friday night was for Conor Bracken, bro. Friday night was for Conor Bracken. And if you didn't put respect on his name before Friday night, put some respect on the man's name, bro.
Oh, I think people are going
man.
to. They have to.
The same people that told me, oh, he's probably going to lose this fight, were sending me messages afterwards saying this guy is a monster. I said he's an absolute monster. He's a monster.
Well,
and now we're going to have to find out, if he decides to come back in April. Because, again, the guy's fought 3 times in 6 months. The guy's had no rest. And now he's going to go help his team train for the qualifiers in Colorado for Muay Thai or whatnot. But now, if he decides to come back, who the hell wants to fight this guy? That's the next that's the next thing we're going to have to deal with. So, congrats to Conor Bracken, man. David Pacheco, Diego Perez. What a night for those guys, man.
Any other notable wins from the night?
Oh
you
my
wanna talk
God!
about?
We should hit up each fight individually. I mean, we started the night out with Zaragoza versus Guerra.
What a night!
Man.
What a way to start off the night.
I put them number one for a reason. Edgar Zaragoza, unlimited cardio, unlimited heart. Melvin Guerra, the same thing. A little bit less experience than Zaragoza, but I put him in there because I know he belongs in there. Zaragoza and Guerra are two special kids at the 147-pound class, 145. They could drop down to 140 even, but they decided to take this at 147. What a fight. What a fight. It was blood and guts, and they went 3 rounds nonstop swinging. I mean, you saw it.
Didn't stop.
You saw it. So, I think Edgar, now 3 wins. He's really surging. Guerra lost this fight, but his stock goes up because now he's learned, as if you watch his social media, he's learned he's got to do a little bit more cardio. But, how many people beat Melvin Guerra, besides Zaragoza? Not many. And he had a lot of success in that fight as well. He landed some big shots. He bloodied Zaragoza up. And, Melvin Guerra is a kid that can beat anyone. He just needs, these are amateurs. This is only his 2nd fight, and he put up a result like that. It was only Edgar's 3rd fight, so these kids have a bright future, man. I look forward to bringing them back hopefully in April. Fight number 2, we had Christian Tobias versus Robert Paulo. Tobias is a kid, I'm a little bit proud of because, the first fight he took with us, he lost. And then he went back, he made adjustments with his team, Yakubian Muay Thai, and he got a draw in his 2nd fight with us. And better than a loss, he got the draw. I don't know if you remember, Ruben Solis rocked him in that first round. So then in this fight, he's coming in there against Robert Paulo, out of Moreno Muay Thai, tough kid. And Tobias came in, made more adjustments, and got that win. Right, so now he's 1-1-1 in the Lions Den as an amateur, and he's only getting better and more technical. Paulo, on the other hand, he lost, but he went to decision and got some valuable experience, and he definitely showed potential. He showed a lot of power. Tobias for me was more technical, more of a sniper. Paulo showed some big power, though. I think if he tightens up a little bit, he can continue to improve and find his way as well. But 2 kids, I'm excited to keep working with, so congratulations to the both of them. Fight number 3, Cameron Spencer versus Dylan Ludwig. This was a great fight, and Ludwig had a lot of heart out of Bas Rutten's Elite MMA to come take this fight with the amount of experience he had compared to Cameron Spencer. Cameron was 2-0, and Ludwig had only had a point. I think it was like a smoker, basically. But, comes from a very talented camp and wanted the challenge. And he was throwing in there. Him and Cameron Spencer were throwing in there, man. And it's just Cameron's, I think his experience, allowed him to land the harder punches. And he was, in control of the fight and slowly gaining more and more control. And he explained it in the post-fight. He saw Ludwig's hands were coming up to guard his face. And he went to the body and dropped him with a nasty body shot, KO from a body shot. So nothing for Ludwig to hang his head about, man. I think he's a fantastic fighter. Definitely in that weight class, he can make a lot of noise. He's just not at the experience level yet of a Cameron Spencer. I'd love to see him get there, and then maybe they meet sometime again in the future because he's got the talent. He's got the talent. And then Cam is just a beast, another kid that continues to fight for us. And, man, I'll put him in against anyone at 205. Anyone. I mean, that kid's a tough kid. Then we had the return of Khosrov Sadarov, fight number 4 versus Jesse Batista. Khosrov moving up in weight from his previous campaign. He was 1-1-1 with us at FightersRep. He had a draw his first fight. He won his second one, and he lost his third one in that crazy fight with Cy Hansen. He got into a car accident since then, the pandemic. He hasn't been active. He got back into training. I mean, he's always been training, but he hasn't been active as far as fights go with the pandemic and everything else. got back into it, got back on the horse, went over to Team Victory Crew Rod, and the guys over there, continued to hone his craft and went in there against Jesse Batista out of Blackbeard Kickboxing, a very tough kid who put up a very tough fight, landed some good shots. But, Host, I felt just outclassed him. I mean, Host is a guy who at just now 4 fights now, I think he's got, he's been doing martial arts a long time, so he's got a lot of experience, maybe more so than a typical guy with his record, which is now 2-1-1 in the Lions Den. And he's a kid I'm very excited about. He's very dynamic. And I look forward to seeing what he wants to do next. I mean, he's got 4 fights now. That being said, Jesse Batista also had a good fight. I appreciate him coming out. He showed a lot of heart. He showed a lot of grit. He landed some good strikes, and he can continue to improve, especially under a coach like Jason Caldwell. Big shout out to Blackbeard Kickboxing. They gave me a badass t-shirt. Then fight number 5, Luis El Toro Moreno, man, against Robert Castro. What an entertaining fight this was. Luis Moreno coming off the loss to Jonathan Montoya the last time he came out. We've been trying to have him on the card since then. Haven't been able to get him until now. Obviously coached by Coach Rage, who's now at Sweet Science, heading their, I think their MMA striking program and their whole MMA program potentially. And they went up against Robert Castro, a very tough, mostly MMA fighter, but a very tough kid, as you could see from the fight on Friday night, Ivan. Luis Moreno, man. I mean, he landed some bombs in there. His boxing looked next level, and, I hate to give away any sort of secret sauce. I hope I'm not doing it, but Coach Rage is out there at Sweet Science, MMA and boxing. And if your guys' hands, aren't ready, then, get them ready when they step in there against the EYR division. Because Coach Rage, man, he's got these kids sparring all day long against MMA fighters, boxers, whatever you can think of, over there at Sweet Science. And they specialize in boxing, so Moreno's hands look way improved from the last time. He looked like a different fighter. And we knew he was tough last time. This time he showed a little bit more technique and heavy hands, man. I mean, he landed one shot there on Castro that, caused a sort of late reaction. Castro stumbled back and then fell down, but that kid kept getting back up, man. That kid kept getting back up, and I think, if anything, this probably lit a fire under Castro. He seemed like he wanted to come right back, And then Toro, of course, I mean, my goodness, what an excellent person to work with. The kid's so professional. I wish every fighter were like that. He thanked all the sponsors. He thanked everybody involved. He showed up on time. He showed up on weight. He gave me no issues. And he goes in there and fights his ass off and puts on an amazing performance like that. So congrats to him, and congrats to Rage. And I know Moreno's really happy about that result. Next, we had David Rivera versus Joshua Caldwell. I mean, this was essentially the amateur main event of the evening. And Ivan, this was a great fight, man. This was a great fight, bro. 170 pounds, 2 absolute beasts, in David Rivera and Joshua Caldwell. And, it didn't go David Rivera's way. Joshua Caldwell, I think, had the superior boxing in this fight, the superior range. He was landing that left. He's a southpaw. He was landing a beautiful left. He actually knocked David Rivera down in the second round, and I think that's what kind of shifted the momentum of the fight. I thought Rivera had a good opening round. It was close. But then when he dropped him in that second round, Caldwell sort of took over from that point on. David showed incredible heart in staying in the fight and having some success. But I think, Caldwell took over definitely after that left landed. And it landed when he was pulling a Vinny Famolari, right? I mean, over and over again, Rivera was kind of spamming it, the low kick, spinning back fist combo, and Caldwell caught on to that. Now, that's a credit to his camp, his older brother, Jason Caldwell. And these are both fantastic 170-pounders that I see both of them have a potential at a title at some point in the near future. So congrats to both of them. I look forward to seeing them both again. And just 2 very high-level kids. And, that's pretty much it. Then we had the post-lives. We had Brandon Washington versus William Acosta, and Christian Zala versus Alejandro Gonzalez. William Acosta went out there against Brandon Washington, a very good kid who we've enjoyed working with very much. They kind of slugged it out. I felt like Acosta had the power advantage. Maybe Washington was a little bit more technical, but Acosta just, I think it was at the second round, just came forward and put everything into every punch, and it was during an exchange where he just caught Washington and dropped him, and the referee stopped the fight. It was a pretty heavy knockdown, but both guys are okay, and they both want to come back. I'm sure. I know Brandon wants to come back, but it's a pleasure working with them, and that was a great fight. And also, I wanted to shout out Matador Training again, which is Melvin Guerra's team and William Acosta's team. I mean, this is Marcos Bonilla's team. He's a pro fighter. He fights out of Combate and places like that. Man, it's one of those gyms where they just kind of came out of nowhere and came on to FightersRep. It's a relatively new gym, and man, I mean, look what they've given us now. Melvin Guerra, who almost knocked his last opponent out the ring and just went to war with Edgar Zaragoza in a fantastic fight, and William Acosta, who just finished his opponent at FightersRep 12. So big shout out to them. Whatever they're doing over there, keep on doing it. And then lastly, we had Christian Zoller versus Alejandro Gonzalez. It was my first time working with Vital Force MMA, Coach Lamont McCurry. Really solid specimen in Christian Zoller. Tall, wiry, strong, good fighter. He's got some potential for sure. Really big kid for 180 pounds. And, Alejandro Gonzalez, did his thing. He landed some shots. But I just think, the way he reacted when he got hit kind of didn't benefit him. And Zoller went after him, was able to get him out of there. I think it was in the second round the referee stopped the fight. But, he's out of BP Martial Arts Academy, so no problem. He'll get right back into it. I appreciate both of them taking the fight. I look forward to seeing both of them again. I look forward to seeing all of you guys back on the card again, and thank you to the fans, thank you to the coaches. You guys stuck this one out, and this next event is going to be, I'm hoping, no more restrictions, no more stupidity. This next event, after an event like this, after this kind of momentum, Ivan, it's going to be even better, man. Watch, it's going to be even better.
And we can expect that to be in April, late April?
We're aiming at the end of April, yeah. We'll release the details as we get them. We're talking to a different venue to see if they'd be interested. It's the same venue, we're talking a bunch of different venues, always trying to, my goal is to get this thing going on a Saturday instead of a Friday night. I think it's a little bit easier for everybody. So, that's kind of what we're looking into, but we'll see. We'll release the details as they come out. Again, thank you. And thank you, Ivan, man. You've done a fantastic job on the social media. I mean, our Instagram page is popping, especially right now with all this pot stirring stuff that you're posting. I kind of egged you on to post it. But anyway, man, thank you guys. Thank you so much, Ivan. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Oh, if you guys haven't already, subscribe, like, comment, share, tag your favorite fighter that we talked about in this video. And we'll see you guys soon, man. Subscribe to the channel. It'll grow. And support the fighters. Follow them on Instagram. Sponsor them. Step up. Let me know. You want to sponsor them? You want to sponsor the show? I'll put you in touch. We'll take care of them. That's what we need to do.
Thank you, George.